Two policemen are dead and four others are injured after a bomb placed under a car exploded. In Egypt, it happened earlier today in the coastal city of Alexandria. The blast barely missed the city's security director. No group has claimed responsibility, but the explosion happening days ahead of the country's presidential election, where President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is expected to be reelected.
A former United States ambassador to the United Nations and Fox News contributor John Bolton set to become the next national security advisor. He will begin his position in a few weeks, replacing H.R. McMaster. The switch coming at a time when North and South Korea are planning a high-level talk in advance of a potential summit between President Trump and North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. So how will Ambassador Bolton's influence affect the possible meeting and U.S. policy towards Pyongyang? Joining us now is Dr. Rebecca Grant, president of the Iris Independent Research. Dr. Grant, welcome. First, a meeting between South Korean President Moon and Kim. Do you think that could actually lead to any concrete results?
Yes, I do. So we're about 5 days out from the next round in this playoff game, if you will. In about 5 days, we'll see South Korea and North Korea host some preliminary talks, another round of the peninsular talks. And Eric, this really is like a sports playoff. Every one of these preliminary meetings has to go well or the deal is off. So we'll be watching carefully to see what the South Koreans take away from the next set of meetings.
And meanwhile, as you using the baseball analogy, I guess the coach has been changed. In the middle of the game, you got John Bolton now in the dugout. Critics have called him a, quote, warmonger because he's advocated or at least raised the possibility of a preemptive strike against North Korea. How do you think U.S. policy would change with Bolton taking H.R. McMaster's seat?
John Bolton is a hawk, but he's also a gentleman. He's street smart. He's a Washington insider. And what's useful for Trump is that Bolton has deep knowledge of Iran, of the North Korea situation. And because Bolton is a hawk, that gives Trump the ability to take pretty much any position he needs to going forward. So this is just one more great asset to the team as we approach this really important summit with North Korea. I think Bolton will be a steady hand and help keep in mind that the military option is always there alongside our diplomacy.
He's also pretty blunt. I covered him at the UN. He's been, I guess my partner on Sundays for 11 years here on the Fox News channel. Here he is 2 weeks ago when we talked about a potential meeting between President Trump and Kim Jong-un. He said it's going to be a short meeting because there's only one thing on the table, that is keeping Kim up to his denuclearization promise, vow. Here's what John Bolton said 2 weeks ago.
I don't really think this needs to be a long discussion. If you want to denuclearize, we've got the ships and the planes to do it for you. We're ready to go. Just tell us where to show up. If you're not ready for that, then you're not ready to denuclearize, and you're not going to string us out and confuse the situation so that you can perfect your deliverable nuclear weapons technologies.
You would think that's the advice he would give to President Trump. I mean, that's the one issue. What happens if Kim says, no, I'm not going to denuclearize?
Yes, I love Bolton's blunt advice, and you're right. He's right. Denuclearization is the key, and denuclearization is the reason that we're this close. Kim has told the South Koreans to tell us that he's ready to talk about denuclearization. Now, what we don't know is exactly how that's going to take place, and we don't know what Kim is going to want in order to go ahead and do this. So, they're going to have to do a lot to convince Bolton. So South Korea first will have to start sending back some positive signals to say that, one, North Korea still has denuclearization on the table. Then in the next set of talks, when Moon meets with Kim Jong-un, they're going to have to get more specific and talk about what it is that North Korea is expecting, what some of the verification will look like, and what Kim Jong-un expects in terms of his own security guarantees. So a skeptical, blunt Bolton is just the right man for Trump as we go forward.
Well, do you buy that? Do you think that Kim really wants denuclearization? I mean, what John Bolton has always said the past number of Sundays is, one, Kim wants 28,500 U.S. troops out of South Korea. Two, he wants to reunify both South and North Korea and be in charge of it. And number three, he's not giving up his nukes.
That's what we have to find out. We know that the past year of military pressure, super tight UN sanctions, pressure from China, pressure from the UN really has changed the situation. Eric, when I saw those 8 North Koreans come to the Olympic closing ceremony, they were saying, wow, we have got to talk. Maybe they're the ones who help persuade Kim. So Bolton is right to keep that focus on denuclearization. But remember, too, President Moon of South Korea has a huge investment in seeing this go forward. So we have to pursue it and see if Kim really is serious. It's true. He said he wants to be a nuclear power. Is he ready to change his mind? That's what we're hearing. Let's hope we hear more going forward.
Well, you know, he stalled before and he's lied and, you know, done the flim-flam in the past. So, you know, what do you think is in his interest and what do you think Kim actually can agree to?
What can Kim actually agree to? He can agree to first stop all missile tests, which is good. It's not a fully tested arsenal. We want those tests to stop. He has to agree to that. I think he has to agree to a fairly intrusive level of IAEA inspection. And then we have the ability to watch what he's up to. Recent reports show that there's less activity at one of those nuclear sites. So we have to use all of our great intelligence resources to make sure they're not cheating. They're known cheaters. It's a real concern. But, you know, we really do want this to go forward. And my sense is Kim Jong-un has realized if he wants to stay in power, he's got to deal. The question again is, what is he going to want from the U.S. and South Korea? We are not taking the troops out of South Korea or our airmen. We're not going to let up on the military pressure. So very interesting to see going forward. What does Kim Jong-un want, and when will the South Koreans start to find out some of the clues to what he wants?
Yeah, we're not delaying the joint South Korean-U.S. military exercises either that they have criticized. Finally, I covered the UN with Ambassador Bolton a few years ago. The North Korean ambassador, when our ambassador started to talk, walked out of the room. Here's what John Bolton did. Take a listen.
I'm not going to waste any of our time responding to what the representative of the DPRK has said, but I want to call your attention to that empty chair. That is the second time in 3 months that the representative of the DPRK, having asked to participate in our meetings, has rejected a unanimous resolution of the Security Council and walked out of this chamber. It is the contemporary equivalent of Nikita Khrushchev pounding his shoe on the desk of the General Assembly.
John Bolton takes no gruff.
That's right. He reminds me of, you know, when he said he called Obama Ethelred the Unready at one point. So, you know, I think he takes no guff, but he is really perfect for this. This is exactly what Trump needs. He's gentlemanly, but he calls it as he sees it. I love that.
All right. Rebecca Grant, who calls him